Bit of a shorter video today as I want to hit on just a few key points that I had to figure out as I was installing my shower base tiles. So I'm going to try to do one row at a time, at least to start, and figure out what we're doing with this. Did you guys know that I've actually been a little bit nervous about doing this? Like, you might not have noticed, you probably didn't notice, but I've been kind of avoiding doing this shower tiling for a little while, just a little bit. I took a lot of info from Sal de Blasi's channel, big shout outs to him. There were a few things that I ran into that no one I could find on YouTube had really covered, and they gave me a fair amount of grief. So the instructions say, basically, back butter the floor first, and then put your grooves in. It might seem like I end up putting my grooves in the wrong way, but with the gaps between the mosaics, I figured there was plenty of room for air to escape. This is supposed to be one of my big house features that's supposed to, you know, make everyone go, ooh, oh, wow, I really need this place. Like, this is supposed to be a pretty big deal. I have never done shower niches before, and I have never done shower floors before. My other ones were, you know, bathtub and shower pan. So I will try to come back and lift up this leading edge. One of the biggest lessons that I took away from learning to tile in this house is do everything you can to not leave any thin set in your grout lines. And if that means I spend a few minutes re-cleaning this stuff right now, it sure beats trying to clean it later. So in a little bit, we'll come back and start spanking this thing around with my float this way. I had to peel up the tape to check the writing on the top of the drain cover. I wanted to make sure that the writing was facing the right direction. I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that the tiles right around the drain cover were as evenly spaced as I could possibly get them. Anywhere else I wasn't too concerned. I was pretty concerned, but I was willing to let it slide a little bit more anywhere else, because the thinset would hide most of the dark lines and you wouldn't be looking for any deficiencies or any unevenness in the middle of the floor. That would only show up if you had like really long lines of inconsistency. Being the only thing that breaks up the pattern in the floor, the drain cover is going to be where you look if you're looking at the floor, so if there are any problems around it, that's where you're going to see them. Fuss up just a couple of small points. Here's where I start spanking it with the float. You'll also notice all the leveling wedges standing up vertically between the tiles. I use these to try to force the tiles into the best possible spacing. With a curved surface, you can't have exactly even gaps in a repeating pattern, so that was my solution. Alright, well, I did the thing. Ugh. Jump ahead to most of the floor being done, and I have to start working on the front edge. I'd originally wanted to use a Schluter something or other that would be the entire height of the front edge, but nothing was available in stock and I didn't want to wait 3 months, so I had to build it out with tiles instead. That was a bit of a chore, and because I was not thinking in the proper order, I ended up having to use a lot more thinset than most people would probably like, but for what it is and where it is, I don't have any concerns that it'll ever fall apart. We want to leave ourselves just a little bit of space to this trim. This trim looks like it's just about the right size. Should be okay with that. Man, that's going to be a fat wad of thinset on the back of this. One of the things that most of the YouTubers don't really talk about is when it's appropriate and when it's a good idea to use just way too much thinset. I think one of the areas that people gloss over that the most is when they're doing those relief cuts for the large format tiles for the shower floors. I haven't seen anyone really talk about how thick you have to put the thinset on when you're putting it over these preformed shower pans, but I gotta think it's gotta be quite a lot. As you can see here, I used almost 3/4 of an inch, if not more, of thinset just to make sure that that sits flush with the front. There we go. We're gonna come back and nip that off later with either with the angle grinder or the hand wasp, but I think we're gonna call that done. Hey!